Well, hello there and welcome to the living room of the dollhouse. I even put on my living room shirt for this read. Which read, you might be asking? The Secret Language of Birthdays book by Gary Goldschneider and Joost for July 10th, the day of passive-active duality. That's right, it's a mouthful. And here we have us a picture of what looks to be a fish of some sort in a tree bough. One active, one inactive. Or maybe it's a sturgeon who's a rather inactive dinosaur fish for the passive, and maybe it's a growing branch for the active. But then again, it could be a barracuda. Who's to say? I'm not a fish biologist. Were they marine biologists? Hey, is it July 10th and it's your birthday today? Well, if it is, I just want to say happy birthday. And if this finds you long after your birthday has passed, well, I hope you had a happy birthday. And for everyone else who's just joining us randomly or out of curiosity, I want to say welcome, and I hope you enjoy yourself. But first, let's dive in with a little dice roll, all right? We got us our crown and root positions, and this is going to be for some synchronicity, so you can go out in the world and keep an eye out for some numbers, whichever ones we roll here, and maybe it'll just bring a nice added little element into your life that you hadn't anticipated there. Ooh, we rolled us a double sixes there. Let's see here. Got us a 12 double sixes. Who's to say? Maybe you're driving down old Route 66 and you take exit 12 and you find yourself at a bait and tackle shop and maybe $6 worth of tuna fish cans and a pantyhose sock, and you hit out onto that river and you catch you a sturgeon. That's right. Or a barracuda if you're out in the ocean. Who's to say? This is synchronicity. We can't question the powers of the universe. We just have to be open to them. In any event, let's dive in, shall we? Your month is July, your day is the 10th, and your sign is 17 to 19 degrees Cancer of the Cancer 2 period specifically, and your quality and element is Cardinal water. July 10th, the day of passive-active duality. Those born on July 10th exhibit a certain detachment their whole life long, which can even manifest at their greatest moments of triumph. Personal traits of receptivity, protection, introversion, and sensitivity are deeply ingrained in those born on this day. So we got including the most active and outgoing ones. Thus, an unusual personality emerges, one which can hard drive toward worldly success, yet frequently retreats into its own protected sphere. Visual talents are particularly evident in those born on this day. July 10 people assimilate impressions from the outside world, either through quiet reflection or direct observation, and give them renewed freshness in their work. Because of their extreme sensitivity to what is going on around them, they may prefer to keep a low profile and not call attention to their private life. However, when activity is required to further their career or simply to acquire what they need, they will not hesitate to emerge in strength. In patiently observing the world, July 10 people develop their own personal philosophy, one that does not necessarily have a strong moral bias. Those who hold anti-establishment viewpoints may live for their personal politics and later come to be regarded as saints or sinners for their deeds. Verbal talents are generally not highly developed in July 10 people. Most are quiet, preferring to observe and act at their own pace. Their lunar nature as Cancerians may lend them an unusual charm and appearance that others often find strange, qualities that make them fascinating or repellent to the eye of the beholder. More conservative July 10 people are capable of leading very modest, even anonymous lives. Their way of seeking refuge from the world is by blending in with it and remaining unnoticed. Yet at certain critical points in their lives, adolescence, mid-30s, mid-50s notably, they are likely to surprise their family and friends by making a sudden departure from their otherwise passive self into a more active mode of existence. Usually they have been gearing up for this change for some years and have a clearly defined purpose. July 10 people are not afraid to speak their mind, but generally do so with tact and discretion. Sometimes overly sensitive to feelings of others, they may compose their own needs and postpone life decisions and generally soften their desires to avoid inflicting pain. And such a tendency to procrastinate or deny themselves to avoid facing the natural facts of their existence invariably works against them. And they must beware of waiting too long and thus losing valuable opportunities. Well, I dare say, are you receptive yet frequently retreating into your own sphere? Well, I'd like to say I do that quite a bit myself, and so I have to say, and how? Are you also a visual artist kind of person? I know I am, and so just being receptive and open and observing to the outside world, I'd say it definitely helps with that particularly focused trade there. But then again, I would say it also takes away from having your imagination. There's some folks who don't observe anything and they draw all sorts of crap just from their imagination. So I'd say that's a strength of theirs that I am a little bit envious of. But I find myself observing the outside world too, I think is what I'm trying to get at there. What else do we got here? Are you a saint or a sinner for your deeds? Ooh, I don't know what that means, but if you are either, hey, I hope that's working out for you. Let's see, are you quiet and do things at your own pace? Hey, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Some of us may know an astronaut by the name of Neil Armstrong there. From what I've gathered, he was a quiet, collected type. People would ask him questions and he would think through what he was going to say, and he wouldn't speak until he was sure he knew what he wanted to say. And so some people would think he was a little bit slow or stupid or dim-witted, whatever. And this is from what I've heard or read. And then he would eventually speak, catch them off guard, and he'd be very eloquent to the point and say exactly what he wanted. And he'd blow their socks off, figuratively there. So, like I said, not necessarily a bad thing. I wonder if he was born this day. We'll find out. What else do we have to say here? Say, don't wait too long to deny yourself your desires. I gotta say, you gotta live for today. Even if you are tired, get something done. That's right. Gotta live for today, because tomorrow isn't guaranteed. All right, let's dive into your numbers and your planets. In addition to the 6 and 6 for the 12. That's right. What do we got here? Those born on the 10th of the month are ruled by the number 1, as 1 plus 0 equals 1, and by the sun. The sun tends to grant the qualities of warm and well-developed ego with a distinctly human, positive orientation to life. But this attitude may be severely impaired by July 10 people if they are too strongly protected or dominated by their parents. And those ruled by the number 1 hold clearly defined views on most subjects. And indeed, July 10 people, while appearing to be tractable or easily influenced, are in fact stubborn and difficult to persuade. Although ambition is a quality often associated with the number 1, July 10 people are likely to manifest this trait in quiet or hidden ways, emphasized by the influence of the moon, Cancer's ruler. All right, what do I got down here? Tractable, huh? Are you stubborn or tractable? Because I think we're all a little bit both. But maybe for you, you just, like I said, nice reserved. People don't know what's going on with you, and so they think you're easily persuaded. And then you blow them away with your visual arts, right? What else we got here? Difficult to persuade? Well, who isn't these days? All the advertisements. Oh, my Lord. I think a lot of us are starting to tune that stuff out. Are we not? It's the only ones I want to pay attention to are the insurance commercials. Seems like they're the only ones with any kind of creativity. They know what they are and they know what they're doing. So let's have some fun with it. It'd be nice if other people picked up on that too. And at least that's my thought on it. What else we got? As long as you're open to listening to humor people anyway, not all those overly trying to convince. I'm open to researching the idea for myself. I don't know what I was getting at with that, but hey, that's in the notes. So I'm open to exploring the idea myself of being open to things and being receptive. All right, well, let's move on to your tarot. The more eclectic of the metaphysical practices and ideas. but who's to say they aren't true? I don't know. Do you? All right. The Tarot. The 10th card of the major arcana is the Wheel of Fortune, which signifies a reversal in fortune and teaches that there is nothing permanent except change. The wheel indicates ups and downs, wins and losses, successes and failures in life. And those ruled by the number 1 and 10 focus on seizing opportunities. Acting at just the right moment is key to their success. As pointed out, July 10 people must beware of waiting too long in this respect. And I think that's what I was getting at. I was reading the wrong thing now. Perhaps you are looking for the right moment. It's easily said, not so easily done, because that thing can pass in a moment, right? And if you were just a little too late, a little too apprehensive, question yourself a little too much, well, it's going to pass you right by. So I was thinking to myself, well, I guess that means you just got to learn to say yes to just about everything, or else you don't know if you're letting that moment go by. Again, easily said, not so easily done. All right, let's move on to your health. July 10 people must beware of a passivity or detached attitude in the face of illness, particularly regarding chronic difficulties. And for this reason, regular checkups by a doctor, as well as ongoing massage, home remedies, and other forms of prevention are recommended. July 10 people, as a rule, appreciate what is offered to them to eat, but are advised to develop their own cooking skills so that they will be forced to make choices and take a more active role in controlling their diet. Only moderate exercise, such as walking or swimming, is recommended. Well, isn't that nice? You can just do what you like with the exercise there. They say that the rest of us need to do it all the time. Get off our ass and go do some work there. Keep our heart healthy. Stretch out that psoas muscle there on either side of them hip flexors. That's the one I get a lot. So massage is definitely recommended if you got some of them tight psoas muscles, which I think most of us do. Or the little sciatic nerve there. Ooh, that one's a tricky bugger there. I suffer from that one myself. So when I saw moderate massages recommended, a little jealous, you know what I'm saying? But I guess we have to empathize with that as well. What else we got here? Make your own cooking choices. Hey, you never know. Find you something you can make well and you enjoy and can eat all the time. You're going to be well served by that. I would have to agree. All right, let's dive in. Some advice. Take a more active role in the life around you. Your shyness is a barrier to your self-expression. Be more forthright. Don't be afraid to make mistakes or appear foolish. And give up the false sense of judging from afar. That's right. Don't you be judging from afar. We judge all the time. So we need to try to be mindful of letting a little bit of that go. Even though generally we can't. But it's only going to do you good in the future. You let people do their own thing and try not to be too mindful of it. Then our ego takes over, right? Ego takes the wheel. But I think from what I'm reading here, you don't have too much of that problem if you find any of this applies to you. So let's get on with your meditation. Understanding begins but does not end with the act of perception. Understanding begins but does not end with the act of perception. I'll say it again, just for you to meditate on. Doesn't necessarily need to make sense, right? All right, hey, let's move on to your strengths and your weaknesses. You're patient, you're receptive, and you're observant. And your weaknesses? You're procrastinating, uncommunicative, and isolated. I dare say most of them are my strengths and weaknesses too, so I'm right there with you. Again, if this applies to you. I was going to say it says patient. I was like, man, if you're still here watching this video, you certainly must be. All right. Let's move on to those born on this day so we know what company July 10 people are in, and maybe we can see and put a little more context into this if we recognize any of these names. All right, let's dive in, shall we? We have John Calvin, the French-born Protestant reformer, and He wrote the Institutes of the Christian Religion, and he ruled Geneva. We have Marcel Proust, who was a wealthy French novelist and wrote Remembrance of Things Past. And he was a recluse who shunned light by day and by night fetched string quartet to play for him alone. We have J.M. Whistler, 19th century portrait and representational painter, and he anticipated symbolism and impressionism and Jugendestil. Don't know what that is. We have Camille Pissarro, French impressionist painter also. We have Saul Bellow, a U.S. Nobel Prize winning novelist of Herzog. We have Giorgio de Chirico, who's an Italian metaphysical painter. We also have Arthur Ashe, tennis star, first African-American man to win the U.S. Open and Wimbledon champions. We have Virginia Wade, Wimbledon U.S. Open tennis champion. Couple tennis champs, eh? We have Jake LaMotta, the world middleweight boxing champ and subject of the film Raging Bull. We have David Dinkins, the first African-American New York mayor. We have Lee Morgan, the jazz trumpeter, who was shot to death on stage by his wife. Ooh, how's that for isolated incident? Let's see here. Arlo Guthrie, folk singer, songwriter, film actor. David Brinkley, the TV journalist and anchorman. Mary McLeod, I think. Bethune, an African-American civil rights activist and founder of the National Council of Negro Women. We also have Legs Diamonds, there's a name for you, a New York gangster shot to death in bed with the showgirl. Another isolated incident, right? Little passive-active duality, depending upon how active in bed he was, right? We have Bernard Buffet, was a French painter. We have John K. Singlaub, a U.S. Army Major General, and he decorated in 3 wars. We have John Gilbert, the matinee film idol. Owen Chamberlain, a U.S. Nobel Prize-winning physicist. Robert Chambers, the Scottish 19th century publisher and editor of the Book of Days. Your season is summer. Your sign, once again, is Cancer, of the Cancer 2 period specifically, and your quality and elements is Cardinal water. And this has been July 10th, the day of Passive-Active Duality. From The Secret Language of Birthdays book by Gary Goldschneider and Joost. I have an affiliate link for this down in the description. If you're interested in picking up your own copy and want to support the channel while doing so, make sure you give old Gary Goldschneider and Joost some support and pick up this book. It is a doozy, and it's great for coffee tables and breaking out if you need to break the ice with those people who visit you in your isolated sphere there. That is right. Once again, your numbers are 6 and 6 for 12, so keep a lookout if you get out of the house today on your birthday. You probably should, right? You got to observe some of the outside world for that project that you're on today. I highly encourage you to do so. I need to do so myself. All right. Hey, once again, if it was your birthday today, I just want to say happy birthday. Hope this finds you well. And for everyone else who joined us today, I just want to say I hope you enjoyed yourself and you join us again for your birthday reading. All right, take care of yourselves. And don't forget to stretch out the psoas muscles there. You will feel better if you do. All right, take care.